Property and Legislative Committee meeting to order at 5:34. And we have a roll call. Trustee Hummel is present. Trustee Saylor.
Here.
Thank you. So we have a quorum. I'd like a motion to approve the agenda and the minutes from the July 23rd, 2025 meeting.
So moved. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda and the minutes from the July 23rd, 2025 meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion is carried. And do we have any public comments on the agenda items?
They're all saying no at this time.
Okay, thank you.
This is Jason. I'd like to make a comment.
Okay, go ahead, Jason.
And that's just on the agenda. Is that what you said?
Yes, on the agenda items.
Okay. So I'd like to make just a few comments on the wakeboard ballast tank conversation and just a few observations. So as I, been participating in the meetings and listening and trying to really look into the claims and the information that are being provided. I mean, I guess I just kind of want to recap, like just some of the stuff like the NEPCO Lake District. Like currently there's approximately 171 parcel owners. On average, less than 5 people attend the monthly meetings. And so there's less than 3% participation from the parcel owners. And I guess I would hope that that we take that into consideration when there are recommendations coming from the NEPCO Lake District. Does it really represent the homeowners and the public's viewpoints? I have asked the NEPCO Lake District to clarify if the public is represented in the NEPCO Lake District, and I still, after 3 to 4 weeks, do not have an answer on that. So still waiting for clarification. I'd also like to comment about previous speakers and the information that has been, I guess, presented. I want to make sure that we understand that the information is not peer reviewed. Many of the claims have been exaggerated, and based on the information provided as just general information, oftentimes just from the internet, as opposed to something specific to NEPCO Lake. One of the specifics I would say is that people have commented on the average depth of NEPCO Lake, but looking into the depth charts, the west side of the lake is greater than 20 feet. Using OnX and also rangefinders, that 20 feet of depth is found at greater than 200 feet from shoreline, and also greater than 400 feet from shoreline in most places. And so, I just want to make sure that we're using specific information that's out there. And I guess the other part is that, have we exhausted all efforts to inform and educate the users of NEPCO Lake on our expectations, specifically like boat landing signage, navigational buoys, maps, online resources, to help people know what to do and what our expectations are. And I guess lastly, I think that's important because, do we need to create an ordinance for things that we should be discussing as neighbors in a community and hopefully teaching and educating? I have particular issue with Greenfire and the St. Anthony Falls study with information that they just brought out, specifically even more information on sediment resuspensioning. And so, for example, they're saying that no boating should be done in less than 10 feet of water. And that would drastically impact the east side of the lake. Not to mention the weed cutters that are active in less than 10 feet of water, specifically 6 feet. And then lastly, the noise levels affecting fish communication that they're talking about. So if we make an ordinance based on ballast tanks, do we have to follow in line with Greenfire and the St. Anthony study with other recommendations that they have? And I think that's very concerning.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank
you.
thank you for your input. Any other public comments? Okay. I do not have any comments at this time, chairperson comments. Number 7 on the agenda, update on DMI. Any news?
We had a conference call last week, Tuesday. We're gonna be meeting, Thursday after Labor Day with, DMI and the company that is a DMI representative. I don't know who it's gonna be. And, the representative from the company that is working with Wisconsin Rapids to tear down their mill to review our property meet on site. So, I don't know where it's gonna go, but we're having an on-site meeting with, the Rapids contractor and a representative from the DMI,
And
So
what
I
date
have-
is that?
next week, Thursday.
Okay. If you could pass that on to me, I would appreciate it.
Yeah.
The timing.
I would like to make a comment on that, Mr. Hess.
Go ahead,
Uh,
trustee Saylor.
I will say that I am impressed with the demolition company in Rapids. I think originally that's how it should have been done. Come in, take care of your business and move on and don't, if that's what you're being hired for. So kudos to that company, whatever that company is, and hopefully whatever comes out of your meeting, hopefully they can take guidance from that company and move forward. So
One can hope. Thank you.
I have a comment as well.
Okay, go ahead, trustee Hummel.
So what is the purpose of the meeting? Is it clear with everybody what the purpose of the meeting is? Is it just to share information or is it to help drive DMI to fulfill what they said they were going to do for multiple years?
So that company reached out to me and wanted the contact for DMI. So I gave them the contact and then they wanted to put a Teams meeting together. So we put a Teams meeting together last week. Tuesday, President Mansell was on Zoom also. Basically, they want to come look at the site and see if they can give DMI some help and some thoughts on what it'd be to get that building down, taken care of. So there's no drive, there's nothing. They came asking on their own if they could look at the site and get a hold of DMI to see if they could put their name in the ringer to see if they could maybe pick up another job.
Thank you. That's very helpful because really what I'm hearing is we have somebody that's interested in understanding the site enough to maybe perhaps make a bid on the demolition of the property. Is that right?
Correct. I think that's the ultimate goal.
Thank you.
Correct. They're trying to help assist and get business for themselves and hopefully assist in demolition, from my understanding. Thank you, Ben. Discussion, number 8, discussion of possible motion to approve village ordinance number 1, general government updates. I guess I would like to have discussion on that, and I think we need a motion first. Then we can have discussion. I do have some comments on that.
So my recommendation, and this is just, you want to move 8 and 9, the ordinance discussion after the seawall discussion and the wake boat discussion. So then I'm assuming that's why people are here. And then we can
Okay.
talk about the general government, which I'm assuming.
That's appropriate. If we have people that are here for other topics, I'm in favor of that. So I will move 8 and 9, so we can get through that later when other people may not be as interested. Thank you, trustee Saylor. Why don't we go to, why don't we do that with 10 also, discussion on chapter 2 of the village ordinances. So I will move to 11. Do you have any issues or concerns with that, trustee Hummel?
I think that's a great idea. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Number 11, discussion on seawall in the NEPCO Lake Development Area Sunset Point. Ben, I will ask for your guidance.
So this has been something the village been aware of for the last few years, past administrators. And now it's, I guess now it's my concern and I, been out on there looking at this, the Sunset Point condominium. Again, it's a private road, part of the NEPCO Lake development. I feel that we should no longer let, the fire trucks, police cars, garbage, any services that the village provides not let the apparatuses, the vehicles out on this point. Obviously, we still need to fight fires. We need to do the medical, all that stuff, but we need to put a cutoff line of how far we would take our vehicles due to the fact that the wall is falling apart. We take a $1 million fire truck or garbage truck or anything out there and it goes into the water, we've got bigger issues. So I have reached out to legal and I'm working with them to draft up a letter to send to the residents that are part of this condominium association to let them know that we're gonna be at a certain date. We'll be no longer allowing police and fire vehicles. That's why I want him to do it. To make sure the language is written correctly, that we're still going to fight fires, we're still gonna do the medical, but they will not drive down this road where it's deteriorating and falling in. This summer, back in June, I did send letters to the residents, kind of just letting them know that I do have some concerns about this and that unfortunately this letter might be coming here down the road and I think it's time that we send this letter. I'm hoping to have it back from legal by early September. I can send it to you guys over an email for the review and be able to have it to the residents by middle of September is my goal.
Okay,
So-
any further discussion on that? I guess from my standpoint, I'd like to see the letter before we authorize it to go out.
Yep.
Very good.
Okay,
We'd like to go chief, Chairman.
Okay.
Chairman Hess, is that okay? Chief Lace, like to talk?
yes,
Chief Fire,
please.
To go along with that, not allowing fire trucks down there. I've been in contact with all of our mutual aid partners that would respond to an incident out in that area. And they will not be putting their own apparatus anywhere other than on the main road and that's it. I feel we should be doing the same thing. It's not our fault that the road is taking a crap and they're not doing anything about it. Unless they want to buy us a new $1 million fire truck, which I highly doubt they do. So just FYI, all of our neighbors partners that would respond out in that area are also on the same page, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Chief Lisa, I have one question. Who are our mutual aid partners specifically?
Out there would be Wisconsin Rapids, Grand Rapids, Nakusa, and Rome.
And they all agree that it is unsafe to access that area?
Correct. And I was actually approached by Grand Rapids Chief Hyatt about that specifically. And he informed me that he was not going to be sending any of his apparatus down there.
Okay. Thank you for the input.
I'd like to comment if I could.
Yes, please.
I totally support the concept of doing that for the village as well as the partners. My request is, Ben, when you send a letter to the residents, would you please send that same letter to the two HOA directors so that they're aware of the situation as well? Because I think it's an HOA issue and the two directors ought to be aware of it as well.
Yep, and we did send a letter to them this summer also. So,
Okay,
yep,
thank you.
absolutely. So we did reach out to our insurance company and obviously, insurance companies aren't gonna say much until something happens, but they definitely wouldn't put it on paper, direct us to make sure we did our best
Yeah,
practice
it's-
purposes
it's,
of the situation.
It's dangerous, not only for vehicles, but it's dangerous for their kids that visit on that Sunset Point. And it's very dangerous when you ride bikes or something there. It's just a real problem.
I do have one additional question. Have we designated a line at which the equipment will not go past?
It'll be I'll work with the fire chief on that. I mean, the problem is when you come down the hill, it's gonna be hard to turn around. So, it'll essentially probably be at the top of the hill, but they'll have to make that decision.
Okay,
I'll work with them.
Just point of information, the trash pickup comes down the hill. There is a space to back up or whatever, but they stop right at the bottom of the hill.
Okay,
And people move their trash things up on Sunset Point up to that point already. So that might be something to think about as well.
yeah, perfect.
Cause that's a heck of a push up the hill with a person on a cart. Believe me, that would be a hard thing to do.
Thanks for the information.
Yeah,
okay,
sure.
thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your input. Okay, any further discussion on the seawall? Okay, moving on, enhanced wake update. Did we reach out to the other municipalities, trustee Hummel? And did you receive any input?
Yeah, we reached out to Saratoga. The communication, we had with, Laura Fair was that, asking to be invited to come to one of their, meetings, town board meetings. And spend 15 minutes explaining, that, the Village of Port Edwards was considering an ordinance. And wanted to explain what the ballast vote issue is and see comment from them. Not a motion, but a comment from them. And so we are invited to do that on September 17th at 7 o'clock.
And that's at Saratoga Town Hall?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we can discuss that, who would be in attendance and present there, so.
I do have a comment about, so where are we as a committee with the ordinance? I'd like to know, we've been spending, I think, 4 months on that at this point. Rome had a public hearing about theirs in the last week or so, and they're 2 months into it, and they've already had their public meeting. So I'm just curious, what are we waiting on to make a recommendation to the full board at this point?
The feedback from we really need 2 out of 3. So from my standpoint, I think we need feedback whether we're going to get the Grand Rapids or Saratoga included in that, because we can propose an ordinance and it really won't go anywhere unless we have 2 of the 3. So I think right now we need to touch base with those 2 other municipalities and find out where they are. Did you get any feedback from the Nepco Lake District meeting?
We did.
And how many people did you have in attendance?
80, about 80 to 85.
Okay, and what was the feedback?
We didn't, I didn't raise hands, I didn't do a survey, didn't do advisory thing, but we did put out a survey that 48 people responded to. There were no comments about the, one comment about the wake boat out of those 48 people about what needs to improve. And that was glad to see that we're trying to do an ordinance. So
Okay.
we'll back up a minute though. I still don't understand why we're the municipality that has over 70% of the property here. And it seems to me we're advocating to 2 other, because we're afraid to make a decision that we could go to either one of those municipalities and say, here's what Port Edwards believes and has already done it. It seems to me that has merit, up or down. If the village board decides not to do it, it's done. We don't even have to go to Saratoga and Grand Rapids. But I believe we're advocating our leadership position in the 3 municipalities by waiting to have somebody else comment, and they're not gonna take a motion, they're just gonna comment. So I really
Go ahead, continue, please.
I don't think that's a smart thing to do. We have a mindset of kind of, my personal opinion, of sometimes avoiding tough decisions. Let's make a tough decision and send it to the board and see what happens.
Let me ask one question of this committee, and I'll ask it to trustee Saylor and trustee Hummel. Do you think we have enough information right now to make an educated decision, positive or negative, on a enhanced wake motion ordinance?
Well, I have a question. What other information do you need if we don't?
Go ahead. You were talking, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's my point. I think Rome, if I could ask Scott Stewart, were you at the meeting, at the public meeting in Rome?
Yes, I was.
Could you explain to me kind of what happened at that meeting and what the comments were from the public? Just as an idea of how a public meeting goes and what the response was with our neighbors in Rome.
It was a pretty large crowd. I'd say over 100, I'm guessing. They had a about a 45-minute presentation educating the public what ballast boats are and the half a dozen or so detrimental effects they cause. One of the highest being safety. So that presentation was made, and then every members of the public could come up and speak for 3 minutes as to their thoughts. I kept rough track. Lots of people spoke, and it appeared 75 to 80% were in favor of Rome's ordinance, which, by the way, coincides with the DNR study of 74% of all folks in Wisconsin wanting wake boats regulated. So it was pretty consistent, and that's how it turned out in the Tri-Lakes area.
Yeah, thank
May I
you.
ask a question? Who gave the presentation at Rome?
Last Wilderness Alliance.
Okay.
Could also make some other comments about what Jason did in his comments, because there are some errors in what he said that I think need to be corrected.
Okay, go ahead, trustee Hummel.
Yeah, first of all, the participation at meetings, actually, we're getting more participation than the village does, just saying. Second of all, we did put out a survey. We've got 48 responses already from that. Anybody can comment. We invited people at the annual meeting to comment and to share their points of view, either personally or through the survey, which was semi-anonymous. So I think that's a red herring to say that we don't take the public in mind. We have a bunch of information. We'll get some from municipalities and Wood County as well about what they'd like to see happen with the lake and so forth. So our strategic planning is much broader than 5 people that show up at a meeting. 1, 2, the speakers that have been presented so far. I think, Jason, you said that they're not peer reviewed. You have the second study from Minnesota that you mentioned, the St. Anthony Laboratory one, which is peer reviewed. It's 164 pages long of deep research, scientific. It's not pseudoscience. It's really, and if you want to work your way through that, you can, but it is peer reviewed. And the only thing that isn't peer reviewed was the Wisconsin Water Sports Coalition stuff, which was, I didn't see any peer reviews in there, and it had nothing to do with Nepco Lake either. So I think that's a misconception as well. The west side of the lake is not 20 feet on the whole west side. That's a misnomer as well. Part of it is a very slim part in the middle of the lake where the deep hole is, but it's not, the whole lake on the west side is not 20 feet deep. That's another misnomer. So I have some objection to misconceptions about our lake and the level of participation and the studies that have been done by illuminologists, people who this is their specialty, have provided now in 2 different studies, one Green Fire in Wisconsin, the other at St. Anthony Lab in Minnesota, who have, in my opinion, very compelling information with deep scientific studies. So that's my point of view.
Thank you for your input, trustee Hummel.
Could I have a second to comment?
It's not normal to allow the response. I will give you 1 minute.
Okay, on the survey that was sent out, it was originally sent out to the homeowners of Nepco Lake, as well as provided at the meeting. It was not sent out to public. I had to personally ask if I could send it out to public, at which it took 3 days for them to answer that, and it wasn't an overwhelming yes. It was, we don't see an issue with that. So to say that this is public, public comment, I don't know about that. The other thing is that what I was saying about the St. Anthony Falls is that, are we going to take this? How much of this are we going to use? They quote in there that at 10 feet water, that it is recommended to go as slow as possible for all boats.
Correct.
So I guess all I'm saying is if we're going to use this as the word, how far are we taking this? Before
you.
we do
Thank you.
ordinance or training.
Thank you for your input.
One more update, Jason, that you missed is we are sending out a second survey to municipalities, to Wood County people and so forth. So it's a misnomer to say that it took 3 days and maybe it did to answer your question, but it wasn't like, why do we need to? That was in our strategic plan all along. That will add to our strategic plan and we'll get comments and feedback from those people as well. However, I will say this, people who actually use the lake have, in my opinion, more weight in kind of our strategic plan than those that don't even use the lake. So just to be clear, we are including people outside of here, but you put it in such a negative terms. I find that not realistic and untrue.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
What I'd like to do is, I'm okay with putting a motion on the agenda for follow-up meetings as long as the trustees, the village board is comfortable on this committee, is comfortable that we have enough information to make an intelligent, informed decision. That's all I'm looking for. So we can talk about that now. I mean, if you think that we have enough information based upon the scientific evidence, based upon the feedback from the NEPCO Lake District and or public comments, I'm okay with putting it on as long as we have enough to make an informed decision. Not trying to abdicate this decision, but I would also like to have input from the other municipalities to make sure that they're properly informed and educated along in the decision-making process.
Yeah, that's
So-
fine. Again, we're scheduled to do that. And if you want to, I mean, I would prefer we do it now. If you want to wait till next meeting to have the motion, I'm cool with that too, personally.
We can't do it because it's not on the agenda. We can't make a motion because we don't
Fine,
have it
then I'm-
listed. Yes.
That'll be put on for the next meeting. Eric, what are your thoughts?
Well, I don't have a horse in the race. You know, I'm not a boat owner. I don't frequent Nepco Lake as much as I did when I was a kid. The stip, find the right word. I'm afraid to do something that possible litigation might happen because of a decision that's made now. I don't feel myself personally that there's enough. I don't know what I don't know. Yes, I've learned about wake boats in the past 4 months. What's the difference? And I understand the ballast tanks and all of that, but with the invasive species, I'm a fisherman. You know, there's people with live wells, with pontoon boats, with bigger motors on the back, you know, close to shore. You know, what is that doing with the erosion on the sides too? Not just with the bottom of the lake. I have a hard time saying yes or no, one way or the other, because I think right now, and I understand where you guys are coming from, you want to limit the wake boats on that body of water, but I feel that there's other boats or craft that are on that water that could be doing some sort of other damage. You know, so if we open that door and when we create an ordinance with a specific make and model, what's saying that another group of people are gonna come with a different make and model, and the next thing you know, we just got kayaks out there. You know, I don't know. That's just how I feel right now. I don't own a wake boat, I don't own a boat, so that's where I'm at. I mean, if you guys wanna make a motion at the next meeting to put it on the village board, I'm just afraid of the litigation, and I know that we're elected to make decisions, but we don't have enough data from the other municipalities statewide that have put them in, because there are lawsuits, current lawsuits.
One.
And I'd like the DNR, personally, I'd like the DNR to say yes or no. They're unwilling to do that, of course. If the DNR says yes, get the wake boats off, then that's what I would align to. If the DNR says no, whatever, then that's what I would align to.
So, let's do it the next meeting. we can share information, more information. I can share with you that any of the ordinances, even if the municipality approves it, the DNR has to approve it. So they've done that 60 times. Okay, so while they haven't taken a public opinion, they've approved these ordinances that many times.
Okay.
Over 70 to 80% of the conservation groups, fishing people, habitat people, have banded together here but I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. So, yeah, let's let's do it at the next meeting. And if we want more information, I'm sure Jason would want to share something with you, but I'm telling you the preponderance of information, with illuminologists and researchers who are, knowledgeable and also don't have a stake in the game, but the truth, have shared their results.
I would like to see personally, I mean, we're getting inundated with the research that you guys have. You know, that's the one side, you know, that I feel that you guys, are aligning to. The other side, you know, a boat salesman or, you know, some residents that agree or disagree. I'd like to see some research why maybe that side, you know, we have all this other information on the other side, good, bad, or indifferent or whatever, but the other side, you know, if there's something available, I'd like to see that.
I don't think it's up to me to.
I know,
get that.
I'm just looking at you because we're.
Yeah. I'm just saying, yeah, but anyway.
I agree with all of this comments from the chairman of this committee. I just want to make sure that we've got all the information that we can gather to make an informed, intelligent decision. I agree with Trustee Saylor that we need to make sure that we have enough information. So if you want to call it a delay, is really trying to do the research and understand both sides of this equation to make an informed decision. So we're hearing a lot about, and I agree with some of the scientific data, but what is the other part of it from a litigation standpoint, from what other municipalities doing, what the DNR is doing, so we at least have all the information open and make an informed decision. So
And I understand, that it hits home to you guys. I mean, you guys are residents of that lake. I'm curious what the Tri-Lakes are doing. You know, have they passed that resolution or ordinance?
The public hearing was one step towards that. They've drafted an ordinance and drafted a condition report, which justifies the ordinance. Now it gets sent, and there's a 60-day waiting period, but after 60 days, it's my assumption is they'll be passing it. There's that window that you gotta wait.
I have a hard time with how this is playing out. You know, it's like Robert's rules. You know, you gotta have a first and a motion before you can have a discussion. Well, now we're already in the ring, you know, so now it's a yay or nay. You know, instead of having maybe some discussion before you make it official. So I have a little heartache with, we have to submit something and then the can is kicked down the road to see if it is official. Because then that kind of shows that whatever our opinion is might be right or wrong, but then we got that other, to me, it's kind of backwards.
Yeah, it's DNR.
I would rather have the DNR come out and say yes or no, and then we don't have to have these discussions and play this game.
That's their system. That's their procedure. It's DNR. That's who's driving the bus.
I don't like it either, but
Because it's like saying that you're guilty on something, but then we're gonna go to court and figure it out. You know, I'm not, you know, I have a hard time drafting an ordinance and doing all this stuff, and then somebody at the end putting the work and the time and the money and energy to say yay or nay. You know, bring us that stuff so we can make an educated decision one way or the other and do it.
In
And
other
then
words-
we know what's gonna happen.
in other words, the DNR would say, yeah, from our point of view, that's fine. Bring it back. I mean, and the board. Yeah, it could also be done with pending what the DNR says. I mean, we don't have to.
I'll just clarify for your purposes, it's not 60 days for the DNR. I misspoke. It's 20 days. They get that ordinance draft, it's 20 days, they respond back. Then there's just a waiting time. There's no waiting for DNR after the 20 days. It's just that the board can approve it for 60 days. Generally, after that 20 days is when you hold your public hearing, and that could be anytime in that 60 days. Tri-Lakes didn't do that. They did it right away, the public hearing, but they did their 20 days, and from the moment DNR receives that document, then the clock of 60 days starts. I don't know when the Tri-Lakes sent it down to them.
To me, it's no different than the chicken ordinance. We had people writing ordinances, we had all the stuff before we even approved or disapproved the chickens. So a lot of work is being done prior to a decision that's being made.
Well, that brings up the other things. What did we do with the chicken
We're not
thing?
talking about chicken.
It,
I don't know, it fell.
go ahead.
Yeah, to me, that ought to be deferred then indefinitely as an official act in order to, as opposed to just stop talking about it, because that leads us nowhere. So that's a separate issue, but my recommendation is that be deferred indefinitely.
The chicken discussion was deferred and it was left as the ordinances are written.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There was no action taken on it, so it was left as the ordinances were written.
Oh,
But that's a different,
That's a wholly different topic.
no, I know, I appreciate that, but you know, Eric brought it up like the chicken thing, and it was like, well, okay.
There was not enough interest to put an ordinance in place about the chickens, but that's a whole, we're off topic. So,
I'd like to make a decision one way or the other because Jason's time, Scott's time, everybody else's time that's come here, I think we're just beating the horse, one way or the other.
so we can put it on the agenda for next week, next month, because we don't have it as a motion on this agenda, that we can do a motion to either move it to an ordinance and move it up to the board or not. The one question I do have for Chief Stewart is the timeline. Where did you get that timeline of what needs to transpire?
DNR policy manual protocol for actions on lakes in Wisconsin.
I can get that all to you and send it to the committee tomorrow. I do have that all.
Yes, I would like to see that. So if we go forward with this, I need this committee to understand that timeline and policy, what needs to happen. So we are all educated in that process.
My only recommendation would be to make it a special board meeting or some kind of special meeting just to talk about that so that the other 4 members can come and listen to the same kind of stuff. Because if we say yes or no and it goes to the board, now the board in a 1.5 hour meeting where we have all sorts of other business that needs to be talked about, I guarantee you, Lon and Joe have not, well, maybe they have, but they're not privy to the same amount of information, and they're gonna be within a 20-minute discussion having to make a decision one way or the other. So if you had a special board meeting or some kind of other meeting where all members are present, an hour long, whatever it is, and then the decision.
I agree with that in concept. Let me talk to President Mansell and we can try to get that set up, because I think this is important enough to get all the information in front of the entire board. I agree with that. Any more discussion on that? I just want to make sure that I'll reiterate, I just want to make sure that we've got all the information in front of us, accurate information to make an intelligent decision to the whole board. So thank you very much. Okay. So if anybody wants to stick on for the discussion on the village ordinances, you are welcome to stick on. I'm going to move back to number 8 for the village ordinance number 1. Go ahead.
Can we just go, I think Chief is here to do number 9. I know we're jumping around. Can we go to just do 9 because Chief is here? We can get that done, please, the fire chief.
Sure. I'm not aware that, yes, we can move, we'll move on to number 9. Discussion on possible motion to approve the village ordinance number 5, fire department updates 1.05 through 5.20. So do I have a motion to begin the discussion?
You'll have a motion to discuss it?
Do we need a motion to open discussion? Is that correct or not?
No, I don't think so. I think you just discuss it, and then if you
Okay.
want them to approve it, you send it to the board and you have a motion done.
Okay, then I will open discussion for chapter 5.
So the biggest changes on this one compared to the one that we talked about 2-3 months ago is 5.14, the open burning, and that's why Chief is here also if you have any questions. They added some language about 10 feet from a public right of way, 30 feet from any public structure, and also a fire ring needs to be provided. This was due to a meeting between the fire chief and the police chief. I was in there also to make sure that they could regulate and follow through with these ordinances where that came from. So if you have any questions, like I said, Chief is in the audience. He can come up here to the table if you'd like.
I do not have any questions. Any other trustees?
5.17.
I do not have any questions.
Okay, trustee Saylor,
Which one is it? The,
514, open
5.14.
burning.
okay. So the blue is staying, or is the blue going away, just the cross off?
What's not crossed out is what's staying. Any language that doesn't have a line through it is staying in there. It's just the third time it was adjusted. So anything that doesn't have a line through is what is staying. This is the most recent updated copy. Everything with lines through it is what will be taken out.
And the fee schedule aligns with the open burning regulations.
Correct. The fee schedule actually has been passed through committee.
Through FHR, correct?
Well, FHR and the board. The board
Yep.
passed that.
Yep.
2 months ago.
Feet from public right away, 30 feet from the structure. So what about, so my question is just a question, like portable fire pits, solo stoves, whatever.
That would be a commercially built, no different than a fire ring. So you'd still have to follow.
So it's still gotta
30
be-
feet, the 10 feet, but it's still considered a commercial generated fire ring, I guess. you'd
It still
say.
has to be 30 feet away from any structure.
Yeah,
I'm fine with it.
Okay. Okay, any others? If there's no other discussions, I will ask for a motion to approve village ordinance number 5, fire department updates, including 5.01 through 5.020.
So move.
I will second. It's been moved and seconded to approve the village ordinance 5, fire department updates. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion is carried onto the board. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
thanks, gentlemen, appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Lees.
Back.
Okay. Going back to number 8. Number 1, I will begin some discussion on that. At last time, we talked about having a uniform person on page 1.8, 1-8, I should say. The administrative 6B, the
No, I'm sorry.
the administrative support coordinator, clerk treasurer to be the point person. In reading this change, I do have some concerns that it clashes with 1.081B, talking about custodians being the one who is required by this section to respond to requests to access such records. And 3B, that this shall not include the fire department whose custodian shall be the fire chief.
They're getting the minutes, they're getting everything together, but the custodians will still be the department heads, and then it'll be released to whoever through the administrative coordinator, which would be Diane.
Okay, then that's not written in there. I don't know if that's self-explanatory. If it is, that's fine. I would ask for other input from the other trustees to say, I didn't read it as such, because it says the administrative support coordinator, upon request for any record, shall, as soon as practical and without delay, either fill the request, or notify the requester, as long as filling the request is going to the custodian and getting that data.
Most of our open records, honestly, they go to Diane. Anybody that files for open records normally goes to Diane. That's where the emails come. That's.
What page were the other two issues that you had, Rick?
1-8, it talks 6B, it talks about the administrative support coordinator. To me, that clashes with 1-7, the top of it B, and who is required, the end of that, and who is required by this section, the custodian, definition of custodian, and who is required by this section to respond to requests for access to such records. So the custodian is responsible.
So the custodian is the gatherer of the records. So the term custodian could be, like it says, any officer, department head, division head, or employee. And it explains the records. Legal custodian, there might be some verbiage that's got to change there. But then the custodian gives the record to the administrative support coordinator, clerk, treasurer, gathers all the records, and they're the point person to fulfill that open records request.
I can read that into it. It doesn't really say that, and that's my only concern. That's why I bring it up, because in 3B, legal custodians, unless otherwise prohibited by law, the administrative support coordinator, clerk, treasurer shall ask as a legal custodian for the village board and its committees, commissions, boards, or other authorities created by the ordinance or resolution of the village board. This shall not include the fire department whose custodian shall be the fire chief. I think if we do this where it goes through the administrative in 6B on 1-8, it should say either fill the request through the legal custodian or notify the receptor. Because if they're going to still go through the custodian, is the administrative assistant gathering the records, or is a custodian gathering the records? I guess in my mind.
I think if you take 3B and you just take off that sentence, this shall not include the fire department whose custodian shall be the fire chief. If you take that off, then the administrative support acts as the legal custodian for the village board, blah, 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 all that other stuff. I would like to assume that the fire department, if they receive a open records request, would work with the office to gather whatever records, and then that person would go and submit the stuff, minus all any PII or stuff like that. That would be my suggestion. Because if you take that last sentence off, then that paragraph is fine.
Well, in 3A, C, D, and E, it talks about who are the legal custodians. A is each elected official is a legal custodian of his or her and the office records of his office. I mean, that's talking about like ban or some, or other elected officials. And then for every, number C, for every authority not specified in paragraphs A and B above, the authority's chief administrative officer is a legal custodian. So it's really talking about the custodian who is responsible for legally for maintaining and getting those records. So it defines those.
So can we walk through an example here? Because that might be helpful to me. So there's a request for records and the custodian goes into the records and emails and collects the data. Okay, then because there are times when there are pieces of that data that go, no, that's not legally reasonable to give. Who makes that call?
It does say it in 6B. When legal custodian has doubts as to whether the requested records are exempt from disclosure in whole or in part, he shall have 3 working days to confer with the village attorney prior to making a determination.
Ace.
Does that answer
Yep.
your question?
Yeah, it does. I misread that, so thank you.
Okay. And then it says, if the legal custodian, after conferring with the village determines that a written request is so general to be unduly time consuming, blah, blah, blah. So.
Well,
you
the
trust-
custodian is defined by anybody that creates a record. You're a custodian of those records, department heads, employees, police, fire, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if we really have to define legal custodians. As in
I
the
think-
whole. paragraph of
Go ahead.
3. On 1-7, paragraph 3. I think you could clean that up. Because
It might be in the state statutes. I haven't verified that, but I wouldn't be surprised if those things are defined in the state statutes. And that's
Well,
something I can check.
the only reason I say that, and then maybe a municipality, which is a public organization, is run a little bit different than a school district, which is a public organization. But as far as the school district, we just say the record, the overall, instead of the administrative clerk treasurer, is the superintendent. And then everybody else, it kind of has paragraphs maybe on who collects what records, but it's just that one person. So I know in our policies, because I looked it up already and gave them to Ben, I don't think every department person is listed as far as a legal custodian definition. I think that could be just one paragraph or one sentence or two, and then it moves on. But I don't know. I mean, maybe Nick would be able to shed a little more light on that.
Yeah, my thought process, and just speaking out loud, is if the clerk treasurer fills the request through the legal custodian, then we would be covered. Because it goes, the custodian gathers the records, because they're going to do it anyways. It goes through the administrative assistant, then out.
Yeah.
So I think if we just add something in 6B defining the legal custodian through the legal custodian, because they are the legal custodian of all the village board information, and then it goes to that individual who has those records, who are legally responsible for those records. I think that would clear it up in my mind, but I think, again, I'm not a lawyer.
I mean, if Nick says that we have to define all the legal custodians, and we can leave that in there. Otherwise, I'd be fine just taking that entire paragraph off, because paragraph 6, the access procedures kind of defines it.
Yeah,
But
but
that-
who's legally responsible for those records? That's what I see in 3. And have you any information from Nick? Ben?
Nick said this was good before we started. You gotta remember that. He looked at this from day one. So if you want me to take section 108 and highlight it out and send it to Nick and include you in it, we can have it. But I mean, before we even started bringing this to the committee, I always sent it to Nick and I said, do you have any suggestions? And he said everything looked good to start with. So
Okay.
anything we do is our own decision.
Personally, I'm okay with it as written, as long as there's the understanding of that the administrative support coordinator clerk is going to fill the request through the custodians.
And I'd like to take that last sentence off about the fire department can just hand out records.
Do you know why that's in there, Ben? Is there something
Because-
special about the fire department?
Because some of the fire records that we don't, for one thing, the village doesn't have over here, they're at the fire department, is why that was written like that. But that was where the whole thing was, is if the records aren't here, the fire chief gets the records, brings them over to the village office, they go through them and hand them out. The fire chief does not hand out the request directly. It goes through the office and they hand it out.
And,
That
and
makes
I'm,
sense.
I'm okay with that because they're responsible for legally, in my mind, to maintain those records. It's not
Is
the
there-
administrative support clerk. Pardon me?
Because they're a custodian of their records that aren't here at the village office.
Correct. And that
And
defines it.
And they're responsible to give them to the administrative clerk so she can hand them to the person that requests to open record.
Okay. Let me ask a question. Trustee Hummel, I'll
Yes.
direct that to you. Are you comfortable with the way this is currently written?
After discussion, and your explanation of, I mean, it makes sense that the fire department has its own records, that we have to address that somehow. And I'm comfortable with the way it is, because really what they're doing is they're collecting it and handing it over.
But
Yep.
that's not how it's happened or defined right now. Case in point, during the election, a resident asked Lise about some training records because of whatever, and then he just gave that to her and she posted it online. So I'm trying to get it
Oh,
so that the fire department can supply those same records. I'm fine with that, but it goes through one person and does not allow one department to submit any records or fulfill any requests, because you know damn well it's going on social media nowadays.
I was unaware that happened. Yeah.
And to, in the top part of that discussion, the only change really to this since last time was in public records was 6B, the first 5-6 words. That's the only change.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
are we comfortable with that change? It's going through the administrative support coordinator treasurer, as long as we understand that they will, upon request for any records, as soon as practical and without delay, either fill the request, and I guess I'm assuming through the legal custodian, or notify the requester of the authority's determination to deny request.
I'm fine with that. You take each custodian out and you make the administrative support coordinator, clerk treasurer, the point person. All the custodians supply whatever records to fulfill that request. I'm good with that.
That's
As
the
am
way
I.
it's written right now. But it's,
Yes.
as
I
long as
read
they
it.
know that they're going, the administrative support coordinators going through the legal custodians.
Yeah, so that last sentence, it's defining that the fire department, fire chief is the custodian.
Correct.
So I'm fine. Okay.
So that's the only change. Now, again, with that being said, Trustee Hummel, were you comfortable? Okay, so then, with that being said, I guess I will look for a motion to move this on. So,
The way it's presented, we're not changing it. What I've got here
No.
is what we're presenting to the board.
correct.
As read.
Yep.
Mhm. As printed.
Yes,
The only thing is 1-09 you have read here, the village administrator is appointed on page 1-11. The village administrator is appointed as the cemetery manager. I would leave, that's in addition to that paragraph, 1.09.
Yep. That's staying.
And the administrator we're leaving as whoever sits in that seat.
That's what we decided. We're
Yep.
leaving that administrative language there.
Okay. perfect.
because all of page 1 just stayed with that. The village board, village administrator, we left a village administrator language instead of changing it for the title of the day.
Yep, I will make a motion to approve village ordinance 1 general government updates.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the village ordinance number 1 as written in the agenda of the August 27th PLP meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion is carried. Okay. Discussion on chapter 2 of the village ordinances. That's a smaller one. I did have a few updates prior to this meeting, which were grammatical in nature. Has anybody had a chance to read through that?
I didn't check for grammar.
I did. So the
Appreciate
changes
it.
that I found were in 2.04, the board put in between at the annual organizational, I put the word board meeting and crossed out board meeting after. It just didn't read right. And where was the other one, Ben? Was there another one on that page? No.
There was a 4, instead of spelling FOR, it was FRO or something.
Yeah, it was, yeah, on page 2-4, 6G, the word fro to 4. And there was a D added on something, archived in 6C.
Okay,
These will be archived, not archives, on the village website. So we corrected that to current practice.
Yeah.
On 6C. So those are the only changes that I put in there. I don't know if anybody has any other ones.
I've read them and I don't have an issue with them.
Okay. So
Next month, agenda for approval.
Yep, so we can approve it next week. It's not as a motion, so we can't approve it, but, so thank you very much. We got through a couple of these, so. Any other discussion on chapter 2?
No.
Hearing none, I will move on to old business. Any other old business? Anybody?
Well, you got chickens. Are we gonna put that to bed and put poultry on the ordinance, or are we just gonna leave it as is? Now that we brought that up before. Because I'm just gonna give you a little history, a little backstory with the chickens. Is I was chairman of this committee a couple years ago, and we had 1 or 2 residents come or approach people and say they wanted chickens. And so we invited them down to have a discussion on chickens. They didn't show up. So we were like, okay, we're good to go. Fast forward a couple years, same type of thing happened. So either we add some language to that ordinance, just to put it to bed so that in a couple of years, it doesn't come back. Or we just let it sit there and wait for
the next time.
if it comes back again.
The ordinance does not specifically, in my remembrance, does not specifically call out poultry, chickens.
It says livestock.
Because livestock, which it defines as goats and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I think the definition when Betsy looked it up that day was poultry was included in livestock.
Actually, the USDA said it isn't. So I would recommend we make
You got a one way or the other.
make it clear that it is part of the ordinance that we have. I'd like to recommend we add poultry as a whatever. Yeah, Ben.
So do we want to do that now, or hopefully when we get to that ordinance, we want to update that at that point?
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, I'm just suggesting, we can do whatever. I can bring that ordinance next month, or we can wait till we get to that ordinance. It's totally
What
up to you
ordinance
guys.
is it in, Ben? Do you remember? I don't have that in front of me. I don't have all the ordinances printed out. I guess, yes, I think that should be cleaned up so it's clear. And my recommendation is we do it when we get to that ordinance.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what I agree. Otherwise, you're gonna start.
I think putting it to bed is the clarity of the ordinance would help.
Yes, if we put poultry in as those that are not allowed, that cleans it up. If we are gonna allow poultry, then we at least have to put some guidelines around it. That's my thought. So, okay, any other old business?
Don't worry about it, Ben.
We can get to it when we can, Ben. Any other old business? Hearing none. Any new business?
So I'll make this short, make it sweet. So I guess yourself or we're gonna work with President Mansell to set up a meeting of the whole. So obviously at the next board meeting, we will discuss a meeting of the whole to discuss the wake boat ordinance. So we have it we discuss the next board meeting about setting up the meeting of the whole.
A meeting of the whole, motions cannot come out of a meeting of a whole, if I remember right. A special board meeting, you can pass or not pass. So it's up to you. If you want a meeting of the whole, that's informational only. I could be wrong on that. I know there's a definition. of-
Yeah, you know, so here's the interesting thing. I'm interested in moving it forward, yay or nay. However, if we don't do what Eric said and provide an opportunity to provide that information, we're spending more time with Saratoga giving them information in their town board than we are our own. And that doesn't make much sense to me, other than then they rely on three people's point of view who have spent months looking at this and they haven't. So maybe we get tight and it's a half hour, whatever, and we give the information so that people can make informed decision on a motion if we decide to have a motion
At our board meeting.
at our board meeting. In the
Yes.
meantime, we already have some comments from Saratoga. And frankly, I personally think it's advisory only at that point because they're not making a motion. That would make no sense to me to have them make a motion before Port Edwards does. And go yay or nay. That just doesn't make sense to me
Okay.
because we spent all this time on it. And I think it's our duty to do that. Frankly, the Lake District brought it before Port Edwards Board because it's the largest municipality. I think it's our responsibility to do that. If we want to use that information advisory, great, let's do that.
Okay. Then let me work with Ben and Betsy to see if we can have, and your comment is taken into account, Trustee Saylor, about which board meeting we need to have if we're going to have a motion come out of it.
I don't know if that's true or not. It just sounds.
And then we got, and again, I don't mean to throw this out there. Obviously, I think Rome had it on their board and they had some back both sides. And then I think they went to a Saturday open
Public meeting.
kind of like we're talking about, to let everybody come in it. And then obviously then it goes back to the board on a motion at their next agenda. I believe that's, I haven't followed the minutes. I guess I can get all the stuff. I think that's what Rome did, is basically.
Yes, they did.
They had a discussion meeting, everybody came, did on a Saturday, because unfortunately with the people, I'm guessing the lakes can't always make it on the weekends during the weekdays, so I don't know if we're gonna run into that. If we gotta have this on a weekend, everything gets tough. If it's gotta be on a weekend, or we can do it on a weekday, I guess that's discussion everybody has to decide together.
Well, they can get online and do it.
Yeah, that's very true, yeah.
The other,
Illinois has capability of getting online.
they have internet there too. The
So why
other thing
don't-
that go ahead.
Why don't we leave this underneath the administrator's report, that I just bring this up in the next board meeting? We'll put underneath their discussion of having a meeting, and that way we can discuss this as a full board,
Yes.
right? We can
Because-
decide if we're a meeting of a whole, if we're gonna, how we're gonna do this, because the three of us are having a conversation, that doesn't mean everybody else is gonna think the same, right?
I also don't want a village board meeting that goes till midnight.
Well, I don't think we have it on night, but I think the discussion underneath my report will be looking at how do we want to have the meeting to discuss the wake boats? Do we want to have a meeting of the whole, or do we want to have a short meeting, right? Is that what you guys are thinking?
Yeah, I would, and I just keep using the word ballast boats.
Enhanced wakes or
Yeah, the enhanced.
enhanced wakes?
Yeah,
Enhanced wake.
So, and I'll get you guys the rights and wrongs about how the policies and everything goes forward tomorrow.
thank you. I like Trustee Saylor's suggestion about that.
6 AM tomorrow, I want
Probably get it. It's Friday. And then
6 a.m.
the
tomorrow.
last thing I got, and then you guys can do whatever, is I did receive correspondence today from Ed Altman Construction about getting him the paperwork for a building permit for the 160 Market Avenue property. So I will be working with him the next couple of days of getting him permit work. I don't know what that's gonna entail, but at least they called and emailed me to get the permit stuff to do some remodeling work on the 160. So as
So
soon
he's
as,
been ahead with that?
again, he just asked for the permit information. When I get something signed, as a permit is pulled, I will relay it to you guys in a document that's completed. But right now, he's just asking for the permit, which to me is always a good sign. At least he's asking for a remodel permit for that 160 property.
Cool.
Okay, that's progress. Thank you. Okay, any other correspondence? I did not receive any. Future agenda items, any information? I had enhanced wake motion, but we're going to be going to discussion at the board for that, so. Any other topics?
We'll have chapter 2, Motion
Yep.
to approve the two ordinances at the next PLP meeting.
Yep. Okay,
And then
next meet, go ahead.
And I'll print off ordinance 3 to bring you guys the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Next meeting, right now, I would be looking at 9:25 at 5:30, September 25th at 5:30.
24, isn't it?
20, is that right?
So we did
25th?
have a change. Right now, the public safety is set up for September 24th at 4:30. The public works is set up for 17th, September 17th at 4:30. So
I
You
was
can
looking
pick-
at the 24th. I was wrong.
you can pick whatever you'd like right now.
What, can you repeat those again?
September 24th at 4:30 will be public safety.
Yep.
September 17th, the week before, will be the public works at 4:30.
Okay,
And I can tell you right now that I cannot make the 24th because that is the homecoming parade and I gotta walk with the football team at 5:30.
okay. Will we be ready on the 17th? How about the 17th? At, do you
What
know how
day
long
is that?
public's, Wednesday, 17th?
Wednesday?
September 17th, what time?
Do you know any idea how long public safety is gonna be?
That'd be public works and I would be less than a half an hour.
Okay, so then 5 o'clock.
Love it.
So everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. And if no other comments, I will adjourn at 6:45. Thank you, gentlemen, very much.
Good night, Rick.
Good night.
So there's only two